This is we're ready to call the meeting to order. 7 o'clock here. Good evening. This is the October 19th meeting of the Town of Warren Zoning Board of Review. I am the chair, Andrew Ellis. To my right is Jason Rainone. Then we have Michael Elves, who is normally the first alternate, but will be participating in a particular application. Because he was there at the site visit. Then we have Vice Chair Barrett Holby, the second alternate David Francis, and Chuck Thibodeau at the end. The alternates will participate and ask questions, and would only be voting in the specific instances where we need them for quorum. The first matter is approval of the minutes of the September 21st meeting. Is there any motion on that or discussion?
The motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Also.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, the minutes are approved. So now under old business, we have application 2238, Angela and Joseph Regan, applicants and owners, 3 Poconoket Trail, Plat 17, Lot 159, a request for a variance under section 3277, construct an addition to a legal non-conforming structure with less than the required front and side yard setbacks in the R40 zoning district. If the applicant would please like to come forward. And we'll note for the record, we had a site visit yesterday at the property.
One question.
Yes.
I wasn't here last month. So.
You're not participating. I mean, you don't have to recuse.
So I'm not voting.
Correct.
That's what I wasn't.
Chuck will not be voting on this. So the voting members will be myself, Mr. Rainone, Mr. Elves, Mr. Holby, and Mr. Francis. And if the matter is continued, these same 5 would be the only 5 that are allowed to vote on it. So good evening. If you want to explain briefly again what your intended plan is and recap the site visit, and we had some specific questions from the site visit we were hoping to have answered.
Great, thank you very much.
Oh yeah, name again.
Hello, my name is Angela Regan and I live at 3 Poconoket Trail. I've applied for a building variance to build a driveway as well as a garage. And as you all came, and thank you very much for taking the time yesterday evening to come on site. There were certain questions that we were looking to address. The major question that was being asked at the property was where the right-of-way was and where we were planning to put the front porch. I worked with my engineer first thing this morning. We were able to locate where the right-of-way is, a line that we were not able to distinguish last night. We were able to do that today, and I believe Rhonda kindly took care of and provided you copies of the new line where the right-of-way is, and we moved the porch back from the 9 feet, the front porch, to 7 feet. So we made that adjustment for our application. And then in regards to the retaining wall, it was mentioned that it cannot sit on the property line, and my architects were able to adjust already the design to move the retaining wall in as well onto my property so that we could meet those 2 requirements that I was asked yesterday.
All right, so on the plan, that's the new plan that we have today.
Yes,
On the side where the retaining wall is going,
correct.
the closest that the garage and retaining wall would be is 2.8 feet, and the deck is 2.2 feet.
But that's what's showing, yes.
Yes. So
Okay.
no construction of any kind would be happening any closer than that.
No, that is correct.
So however you choose to design the retaining wall and garage, it would have to fit, and the deck, it has to fit within that.
Understood, yes,
Okay. And so you said you've altered the front porch.
correct.
So there's not a specific dimension given to the point of that right of way, but we would condition it on whether or not it's 7.1 feet or 7.2. It would be conditioned that the depth of the porch has to be less than the distance of that right of way.
Understood.
So we may not be able to give you a specific size for the porch,
Mhm.
but we're just going to can indicate that it needs to be less than the dimension from that point of the right of way. And if 7.1 is the measurement, then that's fine. If it's 6.9 or something, it just has to respect that.
All right, will do.
Are you willing to entertain a condition that all stormwater generated by your property needs to be contained on your property?
Yes, as I mentioned last night, I'm working with my neighbors
Mhm.
that own that private easement, I believe we call it. I mentioned to them that I agree that all drainage will be taking place on my property, not on theirs.
Correct. So none of the water from your property would be permitted to go spill over onto an adjacent property.
Absolutely.
Because you're building like more roof surface and everything here, so any water coming off of that or off the porch or the deck, it all needs to be confined onto your property.
Correct, yes.
And then you indicate you're also willing to have a condition that the fire chief must review these proposed plans, and it's contingent upon his approval that your project is not going to create an obstruction or a hazard to maneuvering the fire truck or other fire equipment into
Of
this
course.
area.
Mhm.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
so the fire chief and I, we actually did a site visit this afternoon. He can't make it tonight, but he wanted to just express that the plan that's in place, he sees no problem with it as long as the proposed porch does not exceed the property line into the public access point, and that the aggregate that's there now in front stays either asphalt or aggregate, allowing for the fire trucks to come down and make that turn.
so not turning that into grass then. It needs to, or it could be pavers that can support the fire truck with grass growing. It's some kind of surface that the fire truck is capable of driving on.
Correct. His main concern was that it would be eventually turned into flower beds, grass. So if it were to stay where it is, he actually expressed that this is actually going to be beneficial to the travel on the road, because now you're not going to have those cars parked there. They're going to be parked in the garage. And if you have any type of visitors, potentially will be on the driveway. So his two main concerns he wanted to express to the board was that the new proposed porch doesn't encroach into the easement, and that what's there now stays, so his vehicles can make that turn.
All right, so a condition would be that the final construction plan, once you settle on a final design and you have your architect and engineers draw these all up, the fire chief will need to also give his approval to the, I mean, this is sort of a preliminary diagram. He seems to be okay with this. We would want him to review the final plans that are submitted to the building official's office to verify that he still is in agreement with that.
Of course.
And also we'll condition it that the area where this easement exists has to be kept clear, so it's a surface that the fire truck can drive upon. So no like boulders or sculpture or plantings or things of that nature within the easement.
Mhm. Understood.
So is the existing deck going to be cut back so that it's the same length as the porch?
I will,
Or are you
believe
not
we're gonna be
touching-
using the material, we'll be using other material for the front porch you're referring to, correct?
So I'm sorry, what's called the existing deck, the front porch you have now,
Yes,
so is that being removed and rebuilt?
that is correct.
And so will the front of that porch then be at the 7.1 feet all the way across?
Absolutely. Mhm.
So
That's
you're
what I'm
gonna,
agreeing
so
to.
the entire front of the porch will be behind that line where the easement
Mhm.
is. So actually, that's going to improve it, because it looks like from this drawing, that existing porch might be a little bit into the easement. So you're gonna pull it back,
That is
so
correct.
you're gonna
Mhm.
improve that,
Mhm.
okay? Other questions from the board pursuant to anything we saw last night at the site visit or the proposed plan that's been circulated today?
How long has the house been there?
I don't know. I honestly
It
don't know
looks
when it
like
was built.
probably 60s, early 70s.
More than 50 years.
Mhm.
All right, I'm just gonna ask, is there anyone here in the public now who'd like to offer any comments, objections, support? It's a yes, sir, if you want to come forward. Yeah, so you can just have a seat for a moment. And you can just, for the record, state your name and address.
Sure. My name is Doug Jablonski. I lived at 5 Poconoket.
Yeah,
I'm new resident of Warren, almost 3 years. Happy to be here.
and you attended the site visit last night,
Yes,
correct?
I'm impressed that you all came and looked at the site because it's not an easy site. As you can see from the parking in the front. When I bought that house 3.5 years ago, it took me about 6 months to rebuild it. Needed a new septic system, well, roof, interior was all gutted. So I know the difficulty of trying to construct down there, having concrete trucks and electricians that pull up in 4 trucks and plumbers that do the same. And those are all their tools in various trucks. So that's one of the issues I wanted to ask you to consider is that roadway being blocked by vehicles during construction and how that might be dealt with, if it could be dealt with at all. Because as you could see, even having 2 trucks out there, never mind a dumpster and cement trucks coming in is going to make it all very difficult. Where a few of you gentlemen parked last night was actually on my property. So I don't know, and it's also a private road, as you know. So I don't know what you can or can't do. But I feel we need some kind of avenue to be able to call the police if that road is blocked for a significant amount of time. I know when I rebuilt my house, I had a devil of a time keeping it clear because there was 3 houses after me. And so I was a former GC and I built a number of houses. And that's probably the most difficult property I've ever built on, and everything that I built or remodeled because of that, you know, and a sub will pull up and park in the middle of that right of way, blocking Rawmans, the other folks past me. And they say, I just got to run in for a minute. No, you can't go in for a minute. You can't park there. You have to move out of the way. I don't care if you have to park up the street. So I know how difficult that was. I think Angela is planning to GC this herself. And so without a GC to turn to, and that she travels a lot for business, how do we deal with that if that becomes an issue, which is also a public safety issue in case that there's a rescue or fire truck? So that's one of my concerns that I wish you could discuss and perhaps make a recommendation on. Whether we can call the police, whether they have the authority over it on a private road, how that might be dealt with.
So I think we could address that through, since the fire chief has to approve her final construction plans, part of that construction plan approval would also be a site access plan of how workmen, deliveries, et cetera, are going to access the site to make sure there's public safety kept in mind. So as part of his review of the construction project, that would also be in his purview to review a plan demonstrating, you know, where people are going to be assigned to park, if it's going to be like in the area where the garage is going to build, or however, the chief will need to review that logistic plan to make sure that public safety is always maintained.
And that would be the building official?
Well, in the fire chief, the building official
And
will
the building
receive the
official,
plans. And the fire chief will be able to review that
Right.
such that he can determine what is a safe path of access for the construction.
Great. That would be terrific, as long as it's looked at and with some critical eye on the problem. You know, we try to get, you get oil trucks down there, cesspool truck down there. Amazon's down there 3 times a day. It gets extremely difficult, never mind in the wintertime where we've had trucks slide off, actually near Angela's property. So I'm happy to support the proposal. qualified by that. And one other item, I think the solicitor is probably aware, if not, Matt and the board, because some of you might have sat on it, there was a variance approved in 2018 for the same property
Yes,
on the north side of the property, which is where my site is.
yeah,
I would like this to be conditioned on that variance being extinguished and the town removing the suit that's currently before Angela bought it, we bought it. This happened before us, before either one of us owned that property. And there was a variance approved on the north side. She wants to build on the south side, which I'm more than thankful for, because it came very close over to my property line.
yeah. So that variance, if no one has pulled a permit for that within 1 year of when the variance was granted, it's no longer valid.
Except that the fellow I bought it from filed suit in Superior Court. And once he filed that, and with no action taken, my understanding is it stays that 1 year, and that is still active right till this day. I'm not an attorney. and
Yeah, the
attorney
solicitor
can
would
shed
have
some
to
light on that.
comment on that.
Mr. Kritzky is correct on the matter that variance be stayed. Pending suit.
But if the owner of that property no longer owns the property, does he have any, there's no standing if he no longer owns that
Goes with the
property.
property, right?
Well, it's no longer the same property owner, it should run with the plan, even, so there's a variance from the plan, it would be stayed through different properties.
Do we have the legal authorization to do that? Or is
So
that
we
not
don't have
actually
it.
supposed to do that?
No.
We don't have it.
So what is the proper course to terminate that variance? Because of the person who filed the lawsuit, I mean, the lawsuit is no longer, the parties that were part of that decision no longer own the land.
I have paperwork that assigns those rights to me. And just like Angela and Joe with their ownership, without even paperwork, that's still active. However, the suit is against the town of Warren because the variance was granted, correct me if I'm wrong. And so it's actually Warren's choice to remove this at this point. I don't know that you can't, I don't know why you couldn't extinguish the granting of that variance at that point.
Unfortunately, I'm unfamiliar with the suit at this time, so I would need to look at that and then come back to the board with one.
Well, that also raises the question, if there's an active lawsuit on the property, does that preclude us from taking any new actions on that piece of property, such as has been the case with another matter currently pending, that the board is not able to take any action until a lawsuit is resolved on that property?
That's another issue that I need to research and get back to the board.
I don't think she can speak for herself, but I don't think that Angela has an issue with it being extinguished from what she's told me. I certainly would like to see it extinguished as part of my qualified support for this current variance to be approved.
So we gotta make sure that we have a legal right to do that. We don't have it.
So
I
what
don't
is the
think we do.
relationship between what you're asking and what she's proposing? If that's no direct correlation, you're just asking to add something else in to what she's trying. to
That's
do.
right. That's it.
So
I
maybe
don't
you can take
oppose
it up
what she's doing.
separately.
What then?
Maybe you can take it up separately with the town and
But I would like it to be contingent upon, because then otherwise there's two variances approved. And now this house can be expanded to much larger size than you're anticipating to do through your actions
Yeah,
tonight.
I guess
if
the
you do it.
question also is, perhaps where our hands are tied as it was in another matter that's still pending, that because there's an active lawsuit, the jurisdiction is taken away from this board and is assigned to the court system, and we can't take any action until the courts have resolved that.
I guess should have been brought up prior.
Right.
So here we go.
I had some legal advice given to me by the attorney who was involved in it. And if I can just read a couple sentences to you. Hang on one moment, please. I've reviewed the file and checked the status of the zoning appeal with the Superior Court. It is still an open appeal. This is to Scott Spear. Was it Brian and Kavanaugh? I think it's the name of it. It's still an open appeal, though there has been no activity since September of 2018. I'm surprised the court hasn't dismissed it for inactivity, but the town has not filed a motion to dismiss, quote unquote, probably to save on legal fees. That's essentially what he said about it.
Right, that's why he's saying probably to spend on legal fees. If we do make that ruling, it might put us in a position that we have to.
I'm sorry, Mike.
I said, that's what he's saying is we don't want legal fees. He's saying that if we make a ruling on that, it may come back on us because we may not have the authority to make that. So that's why we need the solicitors.
Oh, I don't think your microphone is on.
I think if, I think if I asked my attorney to activate the account, then the town at that time could move to dismiss. I think. I'm not a lawyer.
Can you move to dismiss if if the rights of the lawsuit transfer?
As long as the variance that was granted in 18 won't be active if I dismiss. So the town would have to agree to that, I think.
Could you repeat that?
Please?
Could you please repeat that?
Yeah. So I mean, I could ask Mr. Spear to activate it in Superior Court. And at that point, the town's gonna have to weigh in on what they want to do. I think at that point, the town could say, we move to dismiss. It has been 4 years since this was approved.
Well, yes, the town could move to dismiss, or the plaintiff could withdraw the suit as well.
The plaintiff is you.
No,
Is
I
that
think
correct?
you're
I'm the plaintiff?
you're the one appealing.
So what
The
happens
rules.
then to the variance? Then doesn't it stay on, okay, that happens, and then isn't it active for another year until, as you pointed out, a permit is pulled or construction is begun?
It's a very specific legal issue, again, that would require legal research to
Okay, yeah,
to
that's
determine.
Yes,
Can you vote on this motion
Conditional.
with a condition that the other variance has to be abandoned or cleared up before you can proceed? That way they don't have to come back to the board again?
that would be okay with me.
is that a reasonable strategy, that it's a conditional approval such that this other lawsuit is resolved?
I think that's still gonna put us in legal liability.
Yes, I would agree that it would probably be prudent to hold back until a legal opinion is rendered before making a decision whether conditional or not.
I tried.
It couldn't be
So I guess
done, and
it will have to be
Ms.
continued.
Reagan couldn't write a letter saying that we will dismiss that at our.
I don't know if that would have legal, the court,
Yeah.
I think the court system would have to.
Be inherited, so. If that person's
Well,
still
she's not gonna
alive.
activate it, and the person before her can't do anything or build anything with it because they don't own the house.
But
Yeah,
she
but
could.
it carries with the
Well, she
land.
could, but if she writes a
think.
letter saying she won't, then that's probably pretty good.
I don't know if that's good enough in legal terms. It sounds like we need a sound legal opinion on how to resolve this outstanding lawsuit in order to clear the way for this new proposed variance.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I think that it makes sense to have there are a number of moving parts, it appears, with this lawsuit and with the various variances that are at play. I think to have a fully fleshed out legal opinion on this would be advisable.
Okay, so did you have anything, other concerns you wanted to offer?
I think I threw you a curveball on that one already. No. The fire chief and building official are going to worry about the safety part of it. I've asked you about the construction part of it, and this was just the last part of it.
So it sounds like we're all sort of on the same page as far as what she's proposing, but there is a legal technicality that has to be resolved in order to have a clear path forward.
It sounds like the board seems to be in favor of it. I'm in favor of it. There's another neighbor here that I don't know is going to object or not. So I don't have a problem with it. It may take 30 days. Well, that's the way it is.
I'm not gonna be here in November, so it may take the December meeting. Could we get, well, can somebody?
I doubt the lawyers and the courts are gonna fix this in 30 days. They never move that fast. But in any event, so that was all you wanted to share.
That's all, sir.
Great. Is
Thank
there
you, Mr.
anyone else who wants to speak about this
Thank you,
application?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Nobody else? All right, so that was the public comment. So is the advice, Mr. Solicitor, that this application should be continued until such time as sound legal advice can be developed to address the outstanding lawsuit?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that'd be my advice.
All right, so you as the, if you want to come back up. So would you like to request the board to continue this meeting to allow time for the lawsuit to be resolved?
I don't have any other choice, do I?
You can withdraw your application and go.
No, I'm not. No, I have my dream, right? So, we'll take care of it and we'll go as we need to. It's a journey. So thank you.
So I think we can have a motion then. We'll continue it for 1 month and see how things progress. And if that's not enough time, we could further continue it, or we can't continue it for 1 month anyways, right? Because
2 months.
it has to be 2 months at a minimum because you're not going to be here.
Yeah.
All right, so the motion will have to be a 2-month continuance.
Okay, I'll make the motion. On application 22-38, Angela and Joseph Regan. Applicant and owners, 3 Pocono Trail, plat map 17, lot 159, request for a variance under section 32-79 to construct an addition to a legal non-conforming structure with less than the required front and side yard setbacks in the R40 zoning decision, the district. Should I state the agreeances and then say why? I just don't go
This
right
is
into it.
just
All right.
Continuing.
So due to the Supreme Court ruling. It,
I think it's
with-
not, I think it's just an active lawsuit.
due to the active lawsuit with previous owners that runs with the land, we are requesting to do a 2-month contingency, a 2-month continuance, so that matter can be resolved and not before us, so we can make a decision on the actual application.
Okay, is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so you have a 2-month continuance to work through this. And should that not be enough time, if you contact the zoning official's office, could be determined if more time is needed.
Very good.
And-
Thank you very much for your time.
The December meeting is Wednesday, December 21st.
Get that lawyer's name.
Okay. So the next matter under new business is application 2239. Freedom Equipment LLC applicant, FDP Realty LLC owner, 249 Child Street, plat map 10, lot 171. As a request for a special use permit under section 3252 to operate an equipment repair garage in the manufacturing zoning district. Someone here from the applicant, one or both would like to come forward. Just if you're both going to testify, each state your name and address, please.
Robert Nichols, 1 Raven Boulevard, Green, Rhode Island.
Robert Gare, 10 Thornton Avenue, Smithfield, Rhode Island.
Okay, and what is each of your roles in this?
Co-owners.
You're co-owners of this
Yes, sir.
property. So give us a brief description of what's going on the property right now and what you'd like to add to it.
Well, we rent a space on the property and
Okay.
we repair construction equipment.
Okay,
What kind of construction equipment like?
We specialize in aerial lifts.
Aerial lifts.
Aerial lifts, work
Everything.
platforms, some telehandler forklifts. I don't like working on dirt moving equipment, but some of our customers own that, so occasionally we would work on that as well.
so is this a new business?
No, sir,
So this business is already going on at this point.
it's been going on.
So, Mr. Zoning official, what is the history of this? Why are they coming to us at this point?
So a zoning certificate was requested for this property, and when I reviewed it prior to my appointment, it was this business moved in and it was not permitted in that zone. So that's why they're before you today. This has been a business that we've never had any problems with. Very good business in town, very cooperative. This is before you because they're doing the right thing. They want to make sure that where they are is is not zoned for what they're doing and that they have the proper zoning.
And what was the previously permitted business that was on the site before they moved in?
Yeah, there's been several businesses there, but it was marine repair. There's the fence depot in the back. It wasn't the specific of construction, repair, a repair garage that wasn't zoned.
So so I'm just trying to understand this. So the previous marine equipment repair or whatever it was, what was that classed as in the use tables?
That was a long time ago, the marine repair. Since this owner, I believe, is it your family owns the building?
We owned the building until last June and it was in a trust. I was one of the trustees. We sold it to Fence Depot. They were a long time tenant there for like 14 or 15 years. They bought it from us. I just stayed on as a renter from him instead of an owner.
So you kind of switched roles.
Exactly.
But at one point there was a
R&D Construction was there.
It was
That was my parents' company. They owned it. They retired, kind of stopped business. We rented from them. And then when the Fence Depot bought it, we continued renting.
So was there any kind of special use for any business that had been there previously?
and not that I'd seen.
So it was just, I mean, there was nothing. It was assumed to be whatever is allowed in the manufacturing district
Correct,
is the type of activity that was happening.
correct.
And so per the use tables, repair of equipment is not a manufacturing district activity.
Correct.
Okay,
You can manufacture the equipment, you just can't fix it.
Well, this is specific. So this is a auto repair.
this is a vehicle or
Ve-
equipment. repair.
Vehicle auto repair. So it's not that's why just for the record, it's not, they're not repairing refrigerators or saws. They're repairing heavy equipment. And I think part of the issue in this is if you drive by and they do a great job, but they have a lot of equipment outside. So it's inside and outside. But
And so repair garage would be permitted by special use within this district.
correct,
So they're seeking a special use to allow that function within the district.
correct.
All right, and it's both for interior repairs and outdoor repairs.
Correct, yes.
Okay,
And like I said, this is unfortunately for them, they've been a great business. They've done very well and cooperative. They just, the owner put in for a certificate and we found that it wasn't zoned for that.
and the fence depot's activity, that's already allowed in that district, is that correct?
Correct.
And are there any other tenants on this property?
But the best of my knowledge, no.
There is a hair salon in the front. And
That's right.
I believe she has a use permit for that.
Okay, well, we're not here to approve a hair salon or not, but
We already did.
oh, we did approve that hair salon?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she came in when my family owned it still, so I remember that.
All right, then she must have a special use permit to operate her hair salon. So the only businesses are the hair salon, the fence depot, and your construction equipment. repair.
Yes, sir.
All right. And so it's just your business that didn't have a zoning certificate and now you'd like to have one,
Yes, sir.
okay? Specific questions about the nature of this business?
So any hazardous materials disposal to know about, oil, vats on property, grease disposal, anything along those lines?
Yes, sir. When Fence Depot bought it, they had to have environmentals done. And when the environmental company came through, unheard of, they went to the owner of Fence Depot and said, these guys are phenomenal tenants. They have everything, all the I's dotted and the T's crossed for there. We used Western Oil to dispose of filters. We burn our waste oil in a waste oil furnace for our heat. Coolant, we have recycled by Western Oil, and we have the manifest or the proof that that's all done. So we did outstanding on Fence Depot's environmental report when they bought us out.
So you'd be comfortable if there's a condition that you have to be compliant with all environmental regulations and, you know, OSHA safety standards and everything that is required for this type of business.
As far as I know, we are, and if something's brought to my attention, we will make the adjustments.
And we can just reiterate that there's no on-site disposal of any hazardous materials, which you're not doing now. But
No.
just to memorialize that no hazardous materials are to be disposed of on
No,
site.
absolutely not. And that's, we benchmark ourselves on that is taking as much pride in our environmental part of our business as well as the repairs.
Let's see, if I'm doing the math correctly, we are somewhere around 4,000 square feet of interior space. Which would
That's
be,
probably roughly a good rough number for it.
so we're talking about 4,000, so that would be one parking spot for each. Actually, we've got one space for each 2 employees. It's just the 2 of you.
We have one other employee.
So you have 3 employees, so that's 2 spaces. Oh, that's open land, sorry, business and commercial. 1 space for each 250 square feet of floor space. So 16 for the interior space, plus 2 for the employees, plus 1 for every 4,000 square feet of exterior space. I've got 19 parking spots necessary.
I'm wondering if that's really applicable, though, to this type of businesses. This is a business where customers.
We don't have, like, if you get a customer come in, it's one,
Mhm.
he'll come in. We don't have that. People don't come in to see us unless I call them and say, hey, come look at this before I make the repair, because I want you to see how bad your machine is. So we each have a truck that we drive in, or a car or motorcycle, and then we have 3 company vehicles that we park on site. So the maximum of 6 is all we need.
Gotcha.
So you really gotta go by manufacturing guidelines for parking. Is that under manufacturing guidelines?
Yeah, so that's 1 space for every 2 employees on the largest shift. So we'd be talking about, yeah, basically.
So we'd be,
I would say since
Yeah.
Yeah, since-
If that's an issue, I'll park it where the equipment is in the back.
No.
They've got 8 kids upon.
So that wouldn't be 19 spaces, that would be 3 spaces.
Basically, three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the land mass is for storage of vehicles, so I think they're good, yeah.
Yes, I think
Yeah, I'm
as long as
comfortable with
the hair salon, the fence depot in this business, that there's sufficient parking on the site.
Well, there's also the amorphous parking notation on the left-hand side of the site plan, so I
Do you
think.
have an estimate of what the total number of parking places available on the site?
Well, we have that whole dirt area where the bushes are against the restaurant, and that's all parking there. They're not lined, but employees for Penn's Depot park over there. I was parked there today. He parks over there. We leave the spaces open for the hair salon. You know, Keith at Penn's Depot, his customers are coming through all day.
So maybe a key finding is that the nature of the land, such as it is, has ample room to support the parking required. And that just has to be made. Nothing that you do can take away from enough parking, like you couldn't fill the site with so much equipment that there's no room for parking anymore, that you need to maintain at least the number that are going to service the fence depot, the hair salon.
Yeah, there are other businesses operating there, so we have to make allowances for traffic to move in and
Yeah.
out. We do
Safe
our best
traffic
not to
flow.
occupy all that layer.
I also don't think we want to encourage them to take the permeable surface and back and make it impermeable.
No, yeah.
We're gonna just generate a bigger problem in that wetlands that's farther back.
I mean, we can certainly condition that you have to have safe site circulation for emergency vehicles and things of that
Yeah,
nature.
we keep a lane open in front of us all the time. There's trucks that come in for deliveries and for a period of time, whether it's Fence Depot or ourselves, that the truck might be in the way to unload, but they're in and out. It's not something that stays there for any length of time.
Okay.
I believe there's 10 lined parking spaces on the asphalt. And then the employees, we all park on the dirt side away from the building.
Yeah, at least, I got on Google Earth here.
I'm trying to remember from when we had it lined and there's like 4 in the front, 4 on the side, 3. So it might be a little bit more than 10, but
And then the dirt space that you're referencing. I can
Yes.
See from here, as opposed to the restaurant.
Right.
It's the entire length of the space that's occupied by the building, so
yes.
It's
quite
plenty.
volume, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I think we can find that that's acceptable. What are the hours of operation of your business?
7 to 3:30,
7 to 3.
Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday.
On rare occasions, we're on a Saturday, but it's half a
Rare.
day or so.
Okay. Is there any external lighting on your business?
Only what's part of the building. There's one, that there's lights in the front, I believe this floodlights and 3 under the overhang lights. And there's 1 light pole on the corner of Fence Depot's part of the building that I think comes on at night.
No Christmas lights or trees.
I'm not there at night, so I don't know.
We probably, do you want to condition the lighting that it's compliant?
I think it would imply that they were gonna change anything, and I'm not necessarily sure that.
You're not adding any new lighting for your business that's not already there, right?
We're only hoping to add the special use permit.
They'll do whatever. No signage, right?
No.
That's all I got.
Anything else from the board at this time? Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment? Nope.
They love
Yes,
us.
not.
Do you have any other information you'd like to share with us, or are there other questions specifically from the board to the applicants? Currently not. So is someone prepared with a motion on this application?
I'll move approval of application 22-39, Freedom Equipment LLC applicant, FDP Realty LLC owner, 249 Child Street, plat map 10, lot 171, request for a special use permit under section 32-52 to operate an equipment repair garage in the manufacturing zoning district. In approving this special use permit, we will note that this business will be compatible with the neighboring land uses. It is sharing a site with an existing retail operation. It has been in operation for a significant period of time without incident. We will note that this use will not create a nuisance or a hazard in the neighborhood. It has not had any issues in its current span of operation. And there has been demonstrated that there is ample parking within the site to ensure that the business and its customers will not spill out onto any neighboring properties or out onto the main road. We will note that this business is compatible with the comprehensive community plan and that the public convenience and welfare will be served in so much as it will further provide both business services and employment opportunities to the citizens of Warren. And as such, we will condition this special use permit on the fact that ongoing operations and storage of equipment will in no way impinge on safe passage around the site. There will always be at least 1 lane of accessible traffic flow throughout the site. And we will further condition it on continued compliance with all hazmat disposal requirements and that no hazardous materials will be disposed of on site.
Are there other conditions or amendments to the motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so your motion is passed, 5-0, or any opposed, sorry.
No.
So 5-0, the motion is approved, so you can get your special use permit from the zoning office.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman. Thank you, members of the board.
Thank you.
Appreciate your
Yeah.
time. Have a good evening.
Yeah, so the next application withdrew, correct? So 2240 has withdrawn the application. So the only remaining matter is to review if there are any modifications needed to the procedures. And I think the zoning official about date at which additional materials will be accepted. Yes.
You can go ahead.
The withdrawal that was submitted, can I get it on the record?
Oh, yes, well, so, yeah, yeah, the board accepts the withdrawal of the application. I don't think we need to vote on accepting it. We can make a motion, just want to make it.
Sure, I'll move acceptance of the withdrawal of application 22-40.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, so we've accepted without prejudice the withdrawal of this application. Yes,
Back to the notes here for our rules for our meetings, is it, I noted that it has been unanimous to keep it going past 10 o'clock.
that's what it says in this thing here, yeah.
Yeah, is that what we decided? I can't.
Apparently at this time, that's what was decided. Is that something we want to consider changing, or are we happy with leaving it as is?
The only thing I wonder is it worth writing it so that as long as there are still 5 voting members who have heard the entire case, then somebody could leave if they needed to. It's totally understandable that if it gets to be 10 o'clock at night and somebody has to be up for 6 a.m. the next day, they may need to leave, as long as that doesn't hamstring the board to the point where they couldn't get 5
But
votes.
how long do we want the meeting to let, again, I think what's our
We set the
expectation?
time limit. So if we're gonna do an
Yeah.
extension, we say, okay, we're going to extend for another 30 minutes or another 20 minutes or whatever.
We had done that a couple meetings ago.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it worked out, but again, our goal is to end at 10 and to not have too many applications so that we're not here until 11 o'clock at night. I mean,
Right.
I don't know who wants to be here for 4 hours. It's pretty enduring. But
Here no more.
Yeah, we've made
Yeah,
it till
1:30 in the morning, I hear rookie.
no loss.
Can't tell you how happy I was that I missed that.
Look at when Socket went to 3 o'clock in the morning with the mayor.
Well, if everybody's happy with that, we'll leave it. It's working, but on the other hand, I was just thinking, and your point, Jason, I think is very good. You're an alternate and you don't need to be here, you gotta go, and we still have 5 voting members.
I think that could though pose a problem that if the case was continued and then
Yes, you're right.
one of the people had a conflict or couldn't be there or something, then we're down to no
true.
alternates.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the way it is fine. I mean, we could add, do you want to add like vote to extend the meeting for a specified time period? Like that we not just extend it indefinitely, but put a specific limit.
Or we could always decide with that one.
Correct.
Just a consensus.
So do we want to change the wording or not?
I don't really care. I think
All
it's
right,
fine. the way
fine,
it's
then let's leave it
written.
alone.
We're quite
It's fine.
frankly, it's enough legal.
That's fine. All right, so the town website, number 4, or no, sorry, number 5, the town website says that the materials must be submitted by the last Wednesday of the preceding month. Right?
Yeah.
So that would be different than saying 22 days, because the third Wednesday may fall as early as like the 15th of the month. It could be as late as the 21st of the month. So should we change this to simply say the last Wednesday of the preceding month?
It's gotta make your life easier, I would think.
Yeah, and there has to be a full, complete packet.
Correct, yeah.
So I'm, after that Wednesday at 12 o'clock, if it's not a complete packet, it's not going to make the agenda. Because we had that problem with one where they submitted paperwork, they submitted the paperwork, but they had a couple things missing. And then we put it into the ad for the times, and we still didn't have the paperwork. Luckily, we did get the paperwork, but if we didn't, then I'd have to rescind it. And so it's.
So does it have to be complete on the day they hand it to you, or when upon reviewing it, you find that something is incomplete? There is a certain time window they have to supplement it before that window closes.
So the window that I'm allowing my office, bringing it to the Wednesday, that's the window to review and request if we need anything. To the applicants, to the best of the applicant's knowledge at that time, they are issuing me a complete application.
So if the applicant believes it is a complete package on the last Wednesday of the preceding month, then it will be accepted.
Yes, and as we all know, we have a phenomenal staff in my office. They observe what comes in, they look through everything. So if they feel that it's not complete, then it's not complete. And I mean, we had someone recently say, I didn't know what I don't know what I'm doing. I said, come on in, either Rhonda or Maya will help you. They sat through this is what you need, and made sure that it was a complete, then they're not going to accept it if it's not complete. Now, if it comes to my desk and I say, I need a little bit more information, then that's what that lenient period. Now we can ask for that, but to do it on the Friday at noontime, it's, I don't know how they've done this in the past. It's very tough.
Yeah. So, all right, so is the close of business on the last Wednesday of the preceding month sufficient language?
I'd like it at noon
Noon
time.
on the Wednesday. All right, that's
I
fine.
like noon time on Wednesday, but I mean, I could do the close of business if that's what you.
All right, so noon
Oh, sorry.
on the last Wednesday of the preceding month.
Correct.
Okay, so we can make that change to number 5. Number 6, is there anything more that needs to be added to this I mean, maybe it needs to say there's a checklist that tells what's a complete package.
I believe that's fine.
Submitted part package that they given. We can do online as well.
Building, officials going to review the packet. All right, now we've got this, no more than 3 continuances, old business shall be placed upon the next agenda or upon the meeting agenda which the board has granted the continuance to.
You're not supposed to end a sentence in prepositions, but I only have English.
Upon the meeting agenda to which the board has granted the continuance. That being said, if we're backed up and we've got 5 old business, I don't see a reason to limit old business before adding new business.
I think the intent was the total number of business not exceed 6.
Right.
So this says, well, here, no more than 6 new applications. Well, that means we could have 3 old and 6 new, 9 applications. I don't think that was the intent.
We had that last week or last month or 2 months ago.
Well, it was that some of them were actually
Oh, yes.
double, which I think we should put in here that multiple applications for the same applicant, like special use and variance, are numbered like 1A and 1B, and that counts as 1. So I think that number 7 and 8 could be combined to say that no more than 6 applicants, not applications, but 6 unique applicants can have their matters heard at any meeting. Because some applicants may have, again, variance and
Right.
special use, but 6 different applicants.
So basically, we're striking
Yeah.
7.
Yeah,
And we're having 8 will be the board will hear no more than 6 applicants / properties at any meeting. Applications will be assigned to a meeting based upon the time of filing, with the earlier applications filed taking precedence over later applications filed.
but also that the continued ones take precedence before any new ones.
Yep.
Yeah, so anything that's continued gets onto the agenda first. So if there's 3 that are continued, that already takes 3 of the slots. So there's only room for 3 new applicants. And at the discretion of the chair, if there's a reason why it should go over the 6 limit, the chair can exercise that discretion. If there's something that's just like a rubber stamp for a septic system or something, we could keep that. All right, then we've got the way it's going to proceed. Let's see, we asked that, public will speak. Generally, the chair can decide on a case-by-case basis. Applicant can respond. Response will be directed by the board, will not be given to cross-examine, case by case. Board will deliberate, fine, all their matters, orders.
Do you
Anyone else have any?
Do you think we could add a bullet point that says we can throw things at people we don't like? I'm just checking.
It's just be careful, we're still recording.
We like everything.
I'm sure whoever listens to these archives will appreciate that there are times when that's necessary.
So number 9 and 10, everyone's okay with as is.
Yep.
So the primary change is number 7 is going away. We'll have to renumber it. And what was currently number 8 is going to limit it to 6 total applicants. And I think it needs to be specified in here that the numbering shall be, if it's more than 1 petition on the same property, 1A, 1B, 1C, and that counts as 1 slot.
It will be the order of which the application is allowed.
Oh, if they submitted like a variance 1 month and a special use another month, then it's
So
not.
that's happened with one. So you had 22.
We had 2.
24,
We had 2, yes, it
And
wasn't,
they submitted a
yeah.
special use that was about between 22, 35.
Yeah,
which requires.
I think you would just keep it under the same applicant.
yeah, I mean, generally, they submit them at the same time.
But as the chair has the authority to move the agenda, so if you wanted to push them all together, you can.
Yeah.
For this, so that
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah, the idea is we're gonna have 6 matters heard at each meeting. If one of them has both a special use and a variance, that would be one matter if they're being heard together. So we can still have 5 more things to look at. All right, so the intent is we'll revise this and then we can vote on a revised one at next month's meeting. Is there anything else administratively? There's nothing else on. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?